Russia and Africa. I like always to start with concrete issues. One is local, one is global. From a local perspective, you may have heard that a German newspaper called Bild, one of the biggest selling daily newspaper there, they have cut up to 100 million euros from their program, which reduced by 20% their own journalists, roughly 200, 250 persons, and they are planning to cut more. The reason they have raised was redundancy and the opportunities of using artificial intelligence. So we have a problem of job loss when we talk about artificial intelligence. At the same time, there are a lot of roles: editor, photo editor, proofreaders, translators. Those type of jobs might be reduced or even completely disappear because of artificial intelligence. When you go further, they will tell you that they are freeing more time for journalists to take over more complex tasks, which is true. That is the local perspective. From Russia or Africa views, you can see the problem if those jobs are lost in Africa and how to cooperate. From a more complete different perspective, global perspective, the same artificial intelligence is a new area of global Cold War between the United States of America and, of course, all his allies from NATO and Russia. And all these issues are coming to Africa. So Africa is becoming a real and virtual space for unsolicited war, starting from data, information, and all techniques or technologies surrounding the artificial intelligence. President Vladimir Putin put it this way: artificial intelligence may be the way Russia can rebalance the power shift between US and Russia, and also maybe not pushing too much into defense, but more into artificial intelligence. When you put these two issues together, we have the local perspective, the global geopolitical perspective, and it is in this global area that we have to find a way to put a kind of partnership between Russia and Africa, and specifically in the media and journalist area. So the whole issue is about data or information producer. And from that perspective, we at the same time have to re-equilibrate the balance of power. Time being limited, I will not go into too much details. I think there will be a need to put together a physical human being and digital media artificial intelligence labs or laboratories. We can go into detail how it could be built, but let's take it as a point. This issue of artificial intelligence and big data is a cross-cutting issue. You cannot develop it in Africa without put it in place energy, stable energy, no power cut, which is the daily problems we are facing in Africa, to keep data running and, of course, to work on them. Another very important point, I may go into detail about the definition later, but you have what we are calling now the generative artificial intelligence. So robots, machines can do the job on our behalf. Are we all going to lose our job in that particular area? And if those people behind the whole system, structuring of the system, can control it, can somebody, a group of persons, countries, push for a growing misinformation or fake news? So I'm trying to highlight the problem of artificial intelligence cyber threats, and of course, the Cold War I mentioned at the beginning. So if you check properly, when you do a search today, looking for information, for data, you will see a bias where you harvest data or information when it comes to Africa. You may then have a wrong image, a wrong information about Africa. How to solve the whole issue is about freedom of the media and journalists themselves. And this is why I think it is important to focus on the physical and digital media artificial intelligence laboratory. Creating intelligent machines, I think Russia has a very good expertise that could be a very interesting area. Is it possible to have it centralized only in Russia? Maybe. I suggest a decentralized approach. Let's be concrete. When you want to take over issues like visual perception, speech recognition, decision making, language translations, it is better when it is decentralized. So a partnership, a laboratory partnership, Russia, Africa, in that perspective, will be very, very productive for both sides, including when you come to the AI concept model applications or even software system developers. I'm basically talking more about clustering the platform itself so that it is a kind of win-win approach when it comes to various tools. And you know that all these tools are ongoing development issues. So both sides, Russia, Africa, will benefit from it. The second issue is that we cannot think about artificial intelligence if we don't think about an umbrella concept. It also helps to move into what I call disruptive technologies, such as machine learning, deep learning, natural language learning. And you know, in Africa, one of the new approach to independence is to move African language forward and to have them used in universities and various areas. There are some countries now who decide that the French language is not going to be anymore the official language. So who is going to change that? Algeria just decided that they will have Arab's language starting from the very beginning at school. What are behind type of information data they are going to use and in which language? And can they share it with the world? These are issues we have to think about. So automatization of huge number of tasks is something we can share easily as a chain of journalistic production system. Assisting journalists, complex work, definitely yes, but replacing journalists is another problem. Even if they have more time to do something else, they need to master that first approach. I will again not go into details. I will send you a paper, or I already sent some of them, so you can see the detail of those issues. The issue of interdependency between big data, artificial intelligence. If you don't control your big data, so if you don't control your energy, you may just lose your ability to keep them and to become resilient in all these systems. Human intelligence is there. It may be take over, it may be reproduce, even change. This is a new type of colonialism that may come or not, depending on the way we build our cooperation between Russia and Africa. And definitively, it will help absorb more data, use them better, and of course, from the speed, people will have more time to exchange more than data, their culture. And I have heard before that the culture of Russia, the culture of Africa is not well known between the two groups. The third point, I still have a few minutes, the definition. It is quite difficult. It's a generic term that usually people use. Behind you have algorithm, data, fine. You have emerging technology, fine. But you have this generative artificial intelligence, which now giving you almost a text, even a book. And behind, if you don't use human intelligence, you definitely goes to fake news or something completely different from the reality. So human beings will be definitely even used. Even if we know about ChatGPT, Snapchat, or these type of issues, they can identify a vast of quantity of source of data, generate them even, give you a kind of feedback, but you definitely have to control them. So a team between Russia and Africa must take care of that. Because if you Google today a few keywords in all kinds of search engines, you will be surprised how poor the information about Africa, how wrong the information about Africa culture is redefined or changed or developed. And it may even create difficulties to work together between Russia and Africa. But let's go to the growing misinformation and fake news. I may not develop too much because most of us knows about it. What is really missing is that we are not jointly working together. If you think about big data, blockchains, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, which is coming, all these issues, I think, must be done together. It's a joint partnership to move to a kind of peer-to-peer relationship. And behind the world will be split, whether we like it or not, because behind the culture, there is a question of who wants to control a space, Africa, or who want to work with Africa. I may not go into politics on that particular side. I want to move very quickly to the end and insist on the bias in harvesting or disseminating data and information on both sides, Africa, Russia. Let's make it more large with the BRICS. Now that they are 11, we have to find a way that all these issues comes together, because behind the big data, you have the control. You have malicious purpose. So you have a war. So we have to organize ourselves that the data are not misleading people's views and, of course, people's sovereignty. And behind you have a loss of human dignity. On the conclusion, I think that artificial intelligence, big data, almost digital technology for media and journalism is something positive. Of course, there are a lot of challenges. I've mentioned some of them just in a few minutes before. So we need a kind of self-regulatory body between African and Russian media council, and it has to be digitalized, decentralized. I even call them a community-based approach. And that could grow on a case-by-case basis with countries which are volunteer or companies who want to volunteer to move forward, because you need to finance some of them, and financing might not be enough just from the government or public side. So it's a kind of public-private partnership that I'm thinking about, where capacities building from both sides in artificial intelligence will become reality. Behind it, you have to use, if working, energy, data, and artificial intelligence to a kind of African-Russian think tank. Why you have to think? Because the way people think about Russia today, I'm based in Austria, or in Africa, could be quite misleading from what exactly Russia or Africa is thinking about in specific area. So these two groups, Africa and Russia, they must publish their views in order to make sure that nobody else, because of lack of views, lack of perspective, lack of positions, people just say something wrong about the way we want media and journalists to function. And to close the whole short discussion with you today, I think freedom is needed. If not, Africa's and Russia's views, data might be marginalized from the overall world big data library. As a very specific example, when I was trying to give you a few lines about this issue today, I had a problem just to find papers from Russian intellectuals, because most of them are in Russia. I do not speak Russian, and I could not even see them